everybody. I will call the meeting to
Recording
order,
in progress.
and I will take roll call. Mary Beth?
Here.
Priscilla?
Here.
Geraldine?
Here.
Martel?
Here.
Christine, I'm here. Melissa?
Here.
And Courtney?
Here.
We are all present and accounted for. I need a approval for the February 10th meeting from 2026.
I'll approve the
And I need
minutes.
second. Were there any corrections?
I didn't see any. I didn't see any.
Okay. And I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Moving on to old business. We have the dog and cat licensing. Now, Courtney, do you know if this is the final count as of February 28th?
No, I don't believe so. There's been a considerable amount of turnover at Borough Hall, and I believe there are still pending dog and cat licenses. We're trying to get that squared away as soon as we can.
Okay. All right, so for the dog licenses, as of this meeting, we have 365, and which is down from last year of 467. And for the cat licenses, we were at 68 this year, and it's down a bit from 86. So hopefully by next month, we should have a final head count, and then summonses will be sent out.
Yeah, I'm hoping before next meeting that we can get all the dog and cat licenses into the system, and we'll likely issue summonses prior to the next meeting, and then I'll be able to provide the board with an update then.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. On to new business. We have the health-related fees. And I do see somebody was very nice enough to put in the fees that we can work on, and also was so kind to get us some local comparisons, which is so appreciative.
Yes, thank you very much.
So whoever was responsible for that, I thank them for getting that to us in advance.
That was Kim, so I just want to give her some credit for putting this together for the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that, because that was gonna be, oh no, we have all these things to work on, and now we're gonna need some comparisons, and I flipped the page and there they all are, so I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, the comparisons are very good to see.
Yes. Now, we've already worked on the retail food establishment last year, so I think we can forego looking at that this year. We've also done the mobile food vendors recently, so I think we can forego those as well, if everybody's in agreement with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And then looking at the vending machines, now I looked at these fees. I'm assuming the fee is that the fee for the purchase, Courtney? Where it says fee, the items of 1 cent to 20 cent?
Yeah.
What is this from, back in like the 1950s?
I'm telling you, I don't think these fees have been reviewed in quite some time. So this is what is existing now. Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute, you can't buy anything for less than at least $1.50.
And you can't use a penny anymore. There's no more pennies.
Right.
So that has to be updated.
Yeah. Now,
What type of places even have vending machines today?
that's what I was gonna ask, is how many vending machines do we really inspect?
So all vending machines should be inspected. I honestly don't have a good count of how many exist in the borough. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this fee. But I know we have a considerable amount in Randolph. Places like car dealerships have vending machines in them while you wait for service, and I don't think they're abundant, but I do believe they exist.
Yeah, so they may be, we have a lot of car places, so.
Auto repair, yeah. And, yes,
I say a lot of the car dealers I've been in lately, they offer free services there, like they have the snacks available for
Yeah,
you.
yes.
Not
they
in
do.
vending machines anymore.
But we should have it on record, just cause who knows?
I think we should, but that's why I'm wondering, like, where are they, and like,
do you think,
maybe they used to be in like the bowling alleys.
Oh, that could be, there may be some in the bowling alleys still.
And this is only vending machines available to the public, correct?
Yes.
So,
I mean, I definitely think we need to look at that fee because that is way outdated. But I'm just wondering, number one, how many do we have? And number two, how long does it take for an inspector to inspect this, and what do they do? I think is what I think we would want to know.
I mean, it depends on what kind of vending machine it is, right? Really what they're looking for is expiration dates and to make sure, that the sell-by dates aren't 3 years past. But also there are vending machines that have some more, potentially hazardous foods in them. Like I have seen like sandwich vending machines and things like that. So that would take a little bit more time to go through and look for dates and things like that.
So
The
when,
only place I can think of offhand is Rockaway Mall, but that's township, not borough.
so when they go to look at these vending machines, they're usually contracted with, like you own a business and then you have a contract with a vendor. So who pays the fees? The business or the vendor? And then who lets us access the interior of the machine? Do you have to schedule it with the vendor?
I do not know how many, if any, people are licensed with vending machines in the borough.
Okay.
Who pays the fee is normally between the vendor and the business owner, and they work that out. When we have inspected them previously in other towns, we make an arrangement to make sure that we can get in there and look at the inventory.
How does the business owner know that this is a item that needs to be registered with the town or town?
So I think we're working on some internal processes in the borough, but in Randolph, we're letting places that we believe may think might have a vending machine, like a car dealership, that it needs to be licensed with us. And normally when we're going through renewals, we have existing businesses that we know have these, and we're sending them renewals in that way. So we're trying to catch new businesses preemptively, and then basing it off of renewals after that.
Okay.
well, I think we should just have one line. I don't think we need 2 lines, right? Just make it simple. And I don't know, I don't think we have a comparison with.
I didn't see one on vending machines.
No, I didn't either.
I didn't either.
And this is an annual, or is it is it like 5 years or 1 year or?
Is it every year?
Yes, annual.
Is there some way you can talk with the inspectors and find out, have they inspected any? And what kind of vending machines? Cause like you said, there are some with actual food, like sandwiches and salads I've seen. There's others with just like sodas and drinks. And then there's some with like chips and cookies and candies. And maybe we should stipulate it more, instead of on a cost, more on the type of food, like we have with our retail food establishments. Is that something that's possible?
Is it possible? Yes. I think it might be too in the nitty gritty.
Okay,
I can offer you in Randolph vending machines, we charge $25 for the vending machine.
one flat fee, no matter the cost of the item.
Yes.
For Rockaway, I just Googled Rockaway Township, permit fee for $50.
Mhm. Well, you wanna cover the cost of the inspector going out.
Right,
Because I'm just thinking, rifling through all those snack foods. Like, I'm just thinking in my office, I know we have a soda machine with other drinks. I'm just calling it a soda machine for a drink machine. And they have like chips and cookies and granola bars and candies. And I know the gentleman that does come in, if the food is expiring, he will take it out and leave it on the table and say, this is gonna expire in a couple days. Take it. I can't use it. I'll get fined or something. He said something like that one time. So it's yours, anybody who can take it. And sometimes it's quite a bit of food he's left. But it's time consuming to have to go through all those products in there.
Do you think they would go through every product, or they would just pick 2 out of each rack? Cause they open and then the rack comes out and then there's like each, when they're loading it. I don't know, like, would they do a full audit of every product in there, or like 20% or 25% of the items in there? Pick 2 from each rack to see. I don't know, just, cause you're right, if they go through every single one and look at every single one, it's gonna take an hour.
I'd imagine they do a fairly thorough review.
Which would be every single
supposed
one,
to.
or you think?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
so you said township is 20, Courtney?
Randolph is 25.
Randolph is 25. I think that's
Right.
Rockaway Township's 50.
right, yeah, township is 50. I mean, we could go 30. I mean,
That's
how
what I
many
was
do we have?
thinking. It's very hard, folks, to make money off of a vending machine too. It's like usually the business will get 5 to 10% of the revenue off the machine, and the vendor makes the most of it. So they should probably have the vendor, through their own negotiations, pick up the fee. Because if you sell a bottle of soda and they charge $3 for it now, you might get 30 cents as the business on the soda, and you're paying for the electric to keep that machine running. So it's definitely not a moneymaker. It's convenience for your customers.
And we don't even know if we have any.
Right.
And if we do, how many do we have?
Right. I don't think it's gonna be like a lot, with 10, 15, maybe.
If
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, there might be buildings that have it open to the public, I don't know, we don't have a lot of office buildings here in, the borough. But,
Big enough ones, I think, for vending machines.
right, yeah,
And there's no cafeterias, I don't think.
right.
I think $30 is reasonable.
I agree.
Is do one flat fee and not charge per price.
Yeah.
I need a motion to make a one flat fee of $30 for the vending machine, inspection.
I'll make a
I
motion.
make them up.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Who wants to make the motion?
Go ahead. I'll do it.
Priscilla could do it.
Priscilla, there we go.
And then Charlene can do the
Second.
I'll
Yeah.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then, I think in the past, we have kind of looked at some of these personal services for the body art wellness facilities. And I think there was some more involvement than just looking at a fee, different things, there were some, like the health clubs, some of them had, like juice bars and stuff, so there was a little bit more involvement in that. And I think we needed to know a little bit more about that per facility, like it can't, I don't know if we can just label each one just a flat fee, because some have multiple aspects in it.
Just to jump in, those aspects are licensed separately.
Okay, so each one, like if they have a juice bar, if they have,
They're paying a retail food license separately from this licensing fee to cover that.
okay,
Would they pay a fee on their vending? Just curious.
yeah, if they have a vending
Yeah.
machine, they have to pay for that
Yeah.
vending machine line.
Yeah, a lot of gyms have like, you know, water, protein drinks, all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think there was one gym that had like some sort of like a juice bar.
Right, yeah, no, that's different. That's like a food establishment license, right?
So comparing, let's see, do we have?
Yeah, we have comparisons now. Beauty parlor, are we on that one?
Yeah,
I don't think we have one for, health clubs,
mm,
no.
No, no comparison.
I don't see any comparison for any of these.
Well, barbershop, beauty parlor, there is. Ear
Right.
piercing,
Yeah, there's
What?
piercing, there's tanning,
tanning,
body art.
body art, massage.
Am I missing a page?
It's just this page.
Page 7.
Okay, that's, I didn't go far enough. Okay, there we go.
So we're pretty low
Yeah, we are.
compared to other towns. If you look at Wharton, who would be closest to our size? I guess Wharton.
I think so.
Yeah, between Morton and Dover, and they're pretty much equal.
Well, everyone's 75 across the
Everything.
board.
Right.
And you have to realize all these services have gone up in price too, since this was
Correct.
done, so.
So I have a question on barbershops and beauty parlors. In that, where do nail salons that also do pedicures and businesses that do facials, where do they fall in? Are they, you know, what do they consider? I couldn't find anything, there's a detailed ordinance on barbershops and beauty salons, and I'm sure a lot of that comes from the state. I don't see anything on nail salons. Do you know how they're licensed?
They all fall under the Division of Cosmetology at the state.
So we don't have anything to do with their licensing?
The borough licenses them separately than the state does, but that might just be a fee and there might not be any ordinance to accompany that.
Okay, do we know what the fee is
I
Or-
thought it was 35.
for nail salon?
The same as barbershop and beauty.
Yeah, I think barbershop and beauty, I think the beauty nail salon comes under that part, the $35.
Okay,
And then,
pedicures too then, I would imagine.
yes.
Because it's an activity that's occurring in the beauty salon, I guess.
But I just wanted to mention that this detailed ordinance that we have on barbershops and beauty parlors makes
Doesn't,
no mention of nail salon or
Hmm.
pedicure, at least I didn't see it.
I think nail salons are considered separate from my recollections from previous meetings.
Okay. So they have a separate license fee?
is there a separate inspection for them?
If I
Or
remember,
it's still, Courtney, or is it still under the barbershop and beauty?
I believe it's still under the barbershop and beauty, but these facilities, barber, beauty, nail, are all licensed and inspected by the DCA.
Okay,
at the state level. So if we get complaints at the local level, we always respond out and, we'll take care of the complaint, but the oversight doesn't come from the health department.
got it,
But they
okay.
have to pay
But they still pay a license fee.
They still pay a licensing fee to the borough, yes.
Is this annual again? All these are annual?
All these are annual, yes.
Okay.
So are we thinking we have to review the ordinance and maybe, update the language, make a recommendation to update the language to include nail salons? Since it's
Or is it
not
because
mentioned?
the state, it's under the state, maybe?
I believe that we need to make significant updates to many ordinances, a lot of which these fees are included in. Martell, you're right, the barbershop and beauty salon, ordinance is very robust, but it's very dated. A lot of the language and things that are being included in there are not even being used in practice anymore. So I think the fee part of this is one part of the overhaul, but I think, and I've spoken to Joe Bell about the need to overhaul a lot of these. He's currently got massage and body art that he's looking over for the board.
Okay,
Well, we could change the fees, update the fees, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I say for barbershop and beauty, we go 75 like everyone else.
What kind of
I
inspections are
did-
involved with a inspection here? Like, what are they looking at? What are they doing?
The inspectors are not inspecting these.
It's
They're
a
not-
state.
it's DCA, right?
So a barbershop or a new salon would open up and then, here in the borough, and they would just have to pay a license fee to the borough. Because it's a new establishment. And then
Correct.
yearly, okay.
Correct. And if we got some kind of complaint, like a health and safety related complaint, or there was no hot water at the establishment, the health department would respond out to that as a complaint. But the overall inspection and the individual licensing authority of the people in that establishment falls under the state.
Right.
And Courtney, they pay the state as well?
They do.
Do we know what they pay the state?
I do not.
Yeah, I think we should go in alignment with all the other towns of the 75.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah,
I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ear piercing establishments?
And I guess again, this is just about the fee. The ordinance that covers ear piercing, does that fall under body art or? Okay.
Yes, that's encompassed in body art. There were some new regulations that were released related to ear piercing and body art last year. And so that's what we're looking for the borough attorney to help us update, is just really referencing the state code in the ordinance.
Are we gonna change the ear piercing to really body piercing? Cause piercing is not, societally regulated to just ears now, it's,
That's a good point.
it's like, there's facial piercing, there's quite a bit of body parts that get pierced routinely.
Courtney, do you know what the ordinance refers to? Does it refer to just piercing, body piercing, ear piercing?
I'm gonna take a look at the new update. I believe that ear piercing gets separated out from piercing in the state code. So I'm gonna look at that really quick.
Right, because I know and they're not part of us, but like up at Rockaway Town Mall, there is, I don't know if it's Claire's, the little girl store. They do ear piercing. I don't think they're gonna do other body parts.
Right.
Right.
So they would be distinguished for just ear piercing.
Well, you could do ear piercing slash body piercing, you know, ear slash body piercing if you think it needs to be changed.
But if it's separate in the state code, then I guess we keep it separate, right, Courtney?
We're having another line.
Right, and is there a higher risk with other body parts?
Sure there is, yeah.
And isn't body art also like, often frequently body art will offer piercing as well?
Yes, they
So would
do.
they be duly
Mm.
licensed, or is the
Um,
piercing under, you know, like a subtext of the body art?
Is that where tattooing falls?
I think, yeah, I think that's what, body art is, tattooing.
Tattooing.
So body art includes body piercing, body
Okay.
tattooing, ear piercing, microdermal anchors, microblading, and micropigmentation.
Okay.
So all of those fall under body art, and they do separate out ear piercing and body piercing.
Here's a rando question, not to make it more complicated, but some salons now offer like, I think it's not permanent tattooing, but like subcutaneous tattooing for dye, for like eyeliner. You can get your eyeliner put on,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have your lips done, and it lasts like, I don't know, you know, 3 months, 4 months, and then you go back and you get it again. But it's sort of the same procedure, I think, as body art.
Yes, it is, and we would
So-
consider that body art.
That would be body art. So a salon would then have to be duly licensed for a salon, like a salon, and then a body art as well, right?
Correct, and DCA, the Department of Cosmetology, has their own rules about what's allowed to be together and what's not allowed,
Right.
so they would have to be duly licensed, but they also have to get waivers and things from the state as well to conduct those businesses simultaneously.
And is there inspectors that go in and check to make sure that they're doing things correctly?
Yeah, body art inspections take quite a bit of time, because there's
Yeah.
quite a bit of regulation for them.
And tattooing falls under body art? Okay.
So with the ear piercing, put that up to maybe a 75 like everyone else, and then do we need another line for body piercing since it's pulled out?
No, I think that all falls under
That goes under the body art.
Oh, under the, but so is ear piercing. So we taking ear piercing out and everything is under body art?
You could do either, you could leave everything under body art, or you could separate out body piercing.
I don't know, I would leave ear piercing then, because maybe like a small shop would like to offer
Yeah,
that.
like
as a
Claire's.
courtesy, you know, something like that, but they're not really gonna go into the full, you know, body
Body art.
piercing.
Right, because if you look at the body art that we have now, it's 150, where the ear piercing is 45.
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
somebody, like, say, if we did have like the Claire's here, that might deter them if they're getting that big.
Yep. I left her window open.
So,
Were you saying something, Martel?
no, I'm just thinking out loud a little bit. So we could do the ear piercing, bring it up to the same level as the area dictates, which is $75.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the body art, we're at 150.
You could make it,
Rockaway Township's 300, Denville, Dover, Wharton are 250, and Randolph is, wasn't that on here?
You don't have Randall.
you don't have Randall.
Body art is
On the top, 250.
250.
250.
Oh, it's on the top.
So, yeah,
So maybe go 250, go up 100 for body art and 75, like you said, for ear piercing.
right.
Okay, so I'll need a motion for bringing up the ear piercing establishments to 75 and bringing up the body art establishments to 250.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second, okay. And now looking at tanning facility. We're currently at 50. And all our other surrounding areas are at 100.
100.
Do we have any tanning facilities? I'm just curious.
Yes, there's one by,
There's one in the gym, yeah.
yeah, by the gym. Well,
But they're not incorporated with the gym. That was my next question. So like if a gym has like a juice bar and a tanning salon, then they have to have
3 different fees.
3 different licenses for those services.
Right.
Right.
there's one by, Tractor Supply.
No, that's
Okay.
not there anymore.
It's not there anymore?
No, isn't that where the,
I thought it was,
place is?
well, that's there, but I thought the tanning was still there. Maybe not, I haven't been in that area.
I don't think.
There's a beauty salon there.
Yes, In Style is there. But I don't think the tanning salon's been there for quite a while.
Okay,
Yeah, but we still have to have it on the books in case something.
right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would think we would be in line with everyone else with 100.
Yeah, agreed.
I need a motion to bring up the tanning salons to $100.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And moving on to massage establishments. We are currently at 100 and all our surrounding towns are at 200. And what are your thoughts on those? And I know we do have a few in the area.
I guess we should move to 200. When were these done, Courtney? Do you know, like the massage, we never upped that. We just worked on the ordinance, right?
Yes, we just worked, and what we had incorporated an increased fee in that ordinance, but it hasn't changed because we haven't seen the ordinance yet.
Oh, okay.
So we did increase that fee to 100?
When we talked, no, this hasn't been increased. This has been what it is. When we talked about the ordinance way long ago and updating it, we talked about increasing the fee, but that has not happened. Yes.
Yeah, I think we definitely have some room to increase that.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, these are another very time-consuming inspection for the inspectors.
Yeah.
I suggest we move to 200, like everyone else.
Everybody else in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, need a motion to increase the massage establishments to 200?
I'll make a motion to increase.
I need
I'll
a
second.
second.
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And last here is our health club licenses.
I don't see a comparison for health clubs.
No comparison.
In my experience, many municipalities do not charge for this, so that's probably why. We don't charge for this here in Randolph.
So there's no inspection of a health club?
That doesn't fall under the health department.
Okay.
Oh,
So this is just a licensing fee to operate in the borough?
Correct.
No inspections are involved by our inspectors.
No, again, if we got a health and safety related complaint, we would respond out accordingly. But they don't undergo inspections unless they're opening up and they have a retail food establishment within them. We sort of do a an inspection of the whole facility, make sure the bathrooms are in working order, the lighting is okay, things like that. But these don't undergo regular inspection.
Maybe we should just leave it then.
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
I think we should leave it, cause we don't wanna deter
no. Business,
from the business here.
And they're gonna have other licensing fees, they're gonna have a vendor,
Right.
they're gonna have, like, you know, they'll get
If they
themselves
have
up
the juice
over.
bar, they're gonna have that fee as well.
Yeah.
I think we should leave that one.
I have a question on laundromats and dry cleaners. Where do they fall? They don't fall under the Board of Health?
No.
Okay. Who do
They
they
have
fall?
vending machines though,
What?
they have vending machines.
True.
You know, and Martell and other municipalities, they are licensed under the health department, but it doesn't appear that they are here.
Okay. But they pay a license to operate. They pay for a license to operate?
I do not know that answer.
I'm gonna say that might be where we might find our vending machines is in a laundromat.
true.
Better go inspect that.
But they would still have to pay for the vending machine license, whether we inspect or not.
Right. But do we know that they have that vending machine in that facility is gonna be the question. How do we know of places with vending machines, Courtney?
Yeah.
It would be whether we've come across it before or we receive a complaint about it.
Who does laundromats again? Who looks at that?
Not the health department.
No, is that like fire safety because of like all the equipment and, you know, ventilation with the dryers?
I know that the fire department, the fire prevention does regular inspections of businesses, so if I had to guess, that's likely
Yeah.
where I would.
Because they would have to prove that those vents, the dryer vents, are cleaned annually. I think that's the regulation. It might be more than annually on a commercial dryer. I know residential dryers are annual in condominiums and things like that. You have to get them cleaned and demonstrate proof.
Yeah, I'm just quickly searching through E-code for the borough. It doesn't look like there's anything on laundromats in here.
Okay.
Oh, laundry facilities, hold on. Oh no, that's for, that's under trailers and trailer parks, not what we're talking about.
It says property maintenance office is
Okay,
responsible for inspection, investigation, oh, never mind, sorry, property maintenance. No, sorry.
from a very quick search, it doesn't look like the borough has anything on the books about licensing laundromats.
Okay. I don't know, it seems a little odd to me, but.
Is there any way we can find out if the laundromats have vending machines for food?
Yeah, I mean, I can send my inspectors in, that's not a problem.
You know, I mean, I know they have like the soap and laundry supply dispenser, I don't think we need to look at those, but I'm just thinking that might be a place where they would have like that vending machine for food, people sitting there for a couple hours doing their laundry. Could rake in some money with that. Okay. Um, I'm also seeing on here the animal licensing fees, which we've recently done. Animal facilities, do we have any kennels in the borough?
You do.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a?
We're very low.
There is the comparison.
There's a comparison.
So
Kennels.
it says 10 to 25, is that based on size?
Yeah, I think so.
They divided into two categories, kennels with 10 animals or less, or more than 10 animals.
What page is that comparison on, anybody?
7.
Bill 7?
Mm-hmm.
The regional comparison, Christine,
From the bottom of the page.
kennel.
Oh,
Do we
kennel.
wanna do 25 and 50? Still keep our two-tiered system in place?
I would keep the two tiered, but I still believe 25 and 50 is very low. These are another one that these inspections, depending on what the facility is like, can take hours to do. There's a lot of paperwork and record keeping that are required.
And they're only inspected annually,
Yeah, unless there's an issue.
unless there's an issue.
Yeah, and there is a kennel that's no longer in the borough that I think we were at 4 or 5 times last year.
Well,
Do they get charged for re-inspections? I might have asked this before, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would ask the same thing, do they get charged for re-inspections?
That would be part of the ordinance.
That should be updated. If they don't pass and we have to go back, they should pay for us to come back.
Just like with the food inspections.
Right.
Yeah.
So just for reference, I just put in to have my fees for Randolph change to 110 and 125.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say something like 75 and 100, but if you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's what I was gonna say. Or we could go with the 110 and 125, you said?
Randolph's a little bigger than us though, right?
It is bigger.
Yeah,
the-
but the problem is,
Look at
it's
the
not the
gigantic
size of the
facility.
town, it's the size of the facility and the time the inspector's gonna have to spend at that kennel facility, no matter what town it's in.
So how large are these kennels?
Well, it's the fewer than 10 animals or bigger than 10.
Right, but well, I guess maybe, let me rephrase it. Maybe there should be 3 tiers. Fewer than 10 is X, between 10 and 30 is another fee, and then over 30 is the highest fee. I'm just making that up, you know what I'm just saying, like create like a 3-tiered system too. Cause I understand the small establishment, they board 10, you know, it's a small business trying to make their way. And as you go up, it gets larger.
What are the sizes of the kennels that we had, Courtney?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what the size is. I'd be happy to come back next meeting with that information, but the number of animals, that's why the fees are so close, because the number of animals doesn't really add to the inspection.
Oh, they still have,
They're checking paperwork for the animals, but it doesn't add a significant amount of time if they're over or under.
they
So
still
that
have to go through.
there's still pages and pages and pages of administrative code that they're going through to ensure that the kennel is in compliance.
So it's not how many animals are in the kennel at that time, it's how many animals have been there over X amount of times.
It's how many animals they are able to hold at one time.
Okay,
That's what they're paying based off of. But when the inspectors are there, they're going through administrative code for the entire facility. They're not necessarily spending a significant amount of additional time per animal. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. So you're saying that basically the requirement to go through the code, all facilities are required to meet the minimum standards for the code, whether they take
Correct.
a dog or 100 dogs.
Correct.
So, you know, if it takes 3 hours to do that administrative work, you know, we should be charging at least probably $75 or $100 to cover the inspector's cost, no matter what size the facility.
Correct. The addition of 10 or 15 more animals might equate to 10, 15 more minutes for the inspectors to check that they have all the paperwork for the animals. So the bulk of the inspection is not spent on the individual number of animals, but the whole facility.
So would it be wise to say that it should maybe be $100 to start and then $125, like to cover like an extra for a larger facility, just for the square footage of walking around it and the time it takes to visually inspect a larger facility?
I would say that that's very reasonable.
Okay.
Does that ordinance need to be looked at? I don't know why it's split this way. And I'm guessing it's been this way for years.
It's probably split that way because it's split that way in Randolph, and the contract says that the borough is supposed to maintain similar ordinances of the township. So it's probably split that way because it was done long ago and it's the same way here.
So maybe 100 and then 125.
I think that sounds reasonable.
I need a motion to approve that. For
I'll
the
make a motion.
10 or less to be 100, and for 10 or more in the kennel, 125. So Priscilla made the motion, I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to cattery or pet shop.
I don't believe you have any catteries, and you may have a few pet shops unless they're boarding animals there. We're not inspecting them.
Okay. So this is just a fee to, per se, license them?
License. Yes, and the same for pet grooming. Unless they're keeping animals there and boarding them, they do not fall under our purview for inspection.
Okay.
But if pet grooming is within the context of a larger place that does board, then they pay this, they get inspected?
The larger facility would have to pay the fee, but we would not inspect the pet grooming area. That's not regulated by us.
Okay, and an individual standalone pet grooming shop? You don't do those?
No, not unless, if they were a business that did pet grooming and pet boarding, like you could leave your dog there overnight, then they would fall under our purview. But if they're not holding animals, keeping animals, then we are not regulating them.
Do you know who does?
I believe it's the state has some oversight of this.
So I'm
obviously-
thinking for like, Petco, right, even though it's not in our area. Petco would be a pet shop and a kennel, because they keep animals overnight. Right? Pet grooming would be like Poodle Palace on, down the block from me here. I think it's Poodle Palace, or, you know, where they just do grooming.
Correct.
And then there's, what about like Tractor Supply that has self-grooming facilities? That doesn't count.
It's just a washing station,
It's
right?
a washing station, right? Yeah.
That does
So
not,
that-
You don't
that's
do
it.
grooming.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that pet grooming.
Okay,
and the owners are bringing them in, the staff is not doing it.
right. Yeah, I didn't know like the hot water and the soap and all the stuff that's there, like has to, you know, because you don't bring your own stuff, it's there. I guess you can.
So should we up like the pet shop, I don't know, 25 and the grooming 50 or higher, or what do you suggest, Courtney? You've nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, I have nothing to compare it to. We don't license,
I mean, if we're not inspecting them, why not just leave them where
leave
they're at?
them. Yeah,
Leave it.
Yeah, we're not having to do anything with it, and why deter them from coming in? Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
fine.
Yes.
Inspection fees are on here. What are these inspection fees of?
Yeah.
It doesn't quantify what we're inspecting.
yeah, so I've asked Kim to look into this fee, cause I have no idea what it's actually related to.
I think when we were doing the food establishment revision,
Yeah.
we went to risk type 1, 2, 3, and 4. We got into a discussion about, because that used to be based on square footage, that we got into a discussion about square footage fees related to those retail food establishments. I don't think it's should be intended as a totally separate category as it is here. I think it's part of retail food establishments.
I think it was too, but that's what I wanted to clarify.
But it's all changed now, so it's
It wouldn't be
applicable to
applicable
anything.
anymore.
Right.
Mm.
Well, Kimberly's gonna double check.
Yeah, Kim and I will look into this.
Okay.
Animal control fees.
These are very on par with what is being charged for, boarding at our facility. So, and that's where any dog that is abandoned or running at large or surrendered is boarded at Randolph Animal Shelter. So I think we charge 50 and 30. So, you know, the board could always increase these, but they're very on par for what the going rate is at least.
And we should probably just keep them like they are.
Mm.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Why?
Environmental health permits. Septic system applications. We have that at $55, and I'm seeing that in Randolph it's 300, and in Roxbury it's 500.
Mm.
But I don't think we have any.
I don't know if we have any.
Yeah.
It's-
Because
I have not gotten a septic, or a well permit,
Right.
a well decommissioning permit since I've been here. But that's to get rid of the well. So we're really not seeing these on a day-to-day basis. And so, you know, we could certainly amend the fees, but I'm not sure that they need to be at this point in time because everybody's on water and sewer well, not everybody, the majority, I believe, are on water and sewer.
You know, if hypothetically, if somebody did still have a septic and we needed to give them a permit, and I'm seeing further down, there's a witness soil logs and witness percolation tests. What is this gonna be involved? Because if we're doing all the fees, why don't we just amend them? If they never have to be used, so be it. at least we've amended them.
Sure, I mean, we can definitely do that.
You know, I mean, cause what it all is, you know, an application fee is not that big of a deal. But what is this witness soil logs? What does this entail?
Well, the application fee would be plan review, so that does take a considerable amount of time when they come in. We haven't gotten any, I believe there are very few septic systems in the borough. Soil logs and percolation tests are actually when we go out with the engineer and the contractor and do, different parts of, the septic installation and witness different parts of that.
Make sure it's being taken care of properly? Or abandoned properly?
The installation, the repair, the alteration. Yeah, so we review the plans that come in, and then basically every step of the septic installation or repair or alteration, we're out in the field making sure that what's on the plan is actually going into the system.
Okay.
And
So
then-
I just wanna make sure I got this right. So the septic system application fee is just a fee to say, I would like to apply to install a septic system. Is that and is that inclusive of, inspections after, like, the installation or throughout the installation? Is that inclusive of any labor associated by the borough going out?
So the septic system application would include the application, the plan review,
Okay,
and having to go out in the field for some inspections. These soil logs and percolation tests are different. I don't even think percolation tests are used anymore, but they are charged separately because soil logs normally come before, because you're trying to see what kind of soil you have before you design a system, and then comes the application with the system design.
okay, so soil logs are like first,
Yes.
the application is second,
And then that application would be inclusive of us going out for excavation and bottom the bed inspection and different inspections like that.
okay,
You're also saying, also this would pertain to any repairs on that, so if somebody does have a septic system still, and they need to have that repaired, we still need to have this on file. And if you're saying there's a lot of work involved in that, to pay this $55 fee, that does not really seem like that's a doable fee.
that would not be applicable though to something that's already been installed, is it right? This application is for one, like what if you had one, like I moved into the borough, I have this septic system in my house and I need to update it, I need alterations, do I
You still
apply
have to
fresh?
apply. Yes, so what I would recommend is normally there are different fees. So you've got an application review for new septic, right? So that should be one fee. And then an application review for an alteration or repair, they are different, should be another fee.
I agree, okay, that makes sense. And then a soil log, a witness soil log would still be first for either of them, correct?
Not for, well,
Alterations,
it could be for an alteration or a repair, yeah, so you might wanna break your soil logs into both as well.
okay. Since
Is
we're on the
there,
trade,
is there an ordinance that goes with these?
I'm not sure, if there is, it's very dated.
Yeah, cause I mean, as far as I know of and I've heard of, there is very few, if any, septic
Mm,
and wells in Borough.
right,
But you just know there might be that one out there that
right,
we've never heard of. And if Courtney's saying this is kind of time consuming, you don't want that one to come around in a couple of years and say there's a problem in their septic and now we need this and we're gonna pay this $55 fee. And it really should be this like $300 fee.
right.
And then we're finding out our inspectors are out there for hours on end, and now we're not really getting them paid the way they should be getting paid.
Right.
So
You
are
know,
you thinking like 500 for new, 250 for alteration and repair, and then anywhere between 50 and 100 for a soil log?
Yes,
Cause then somebody brand new, it's 600, right? 600, cause you need the soil log and then a brand new. And then somebody that has one that's not hooked up to the sewer that needs to do repair would be about would be 250. And then if there was a need for a soil log, then it would, to the homeowner, it would be 350 total, something like that, right?
well, these soil logs, according to the old way, it's per hour.
yeah, and so is the comparison, no, they're not in
They
here.
don't have a soil log, they just have the septic
The
application.
application.
Randolph was 300 and Roxbury is 500.
So, I believe in Randolph and Roxbury, soil witnessing per 2 logs, so if you do more than 2, it obviously increases. In Randolph, I have soil witness for new at 100 and soil witness for an alteration or repair at 50.
Well, that makes sense.
And
And
that's,
just I'm sorry.
that's per hour, correct?
No, that's just a
That's
flat fee.
flat fee.
Flat.
Okay.
And what is the pumping?
Um,
$3 for pumping the septic? That's the deal of the century.
Yeah, so when you, it's called license to operate, when you have to get your septic pumped every certain amount of years, depending
Right.
on the ordinance, and then produce a receipt. $3 is low, I believe I believe it was 50 here, 50, I got rid of that, and then it's, I think it's 15 in Roxbury.
So you pay the fee to have a company come pump it, but you have to pay the town the
As
fee.
like a record, yes, you pay
Right,
the
like
fee, yes,
Because they have to file the record and some
Yeah.
labor's attached to this administrative duty.
yes.
Okay, well, I think 15's fair. I thought it was pumping a septic, I'm like, darn. That would be quite the deal, $3.
Alright, so let's just take a step back here for a minute. So for the permit for the new septic, we said we were gonna go with 500? Okay, and for the repair or a alteration,
250.
250?
Right.
So let's do a motion on that first.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second,
I'll second.
okay? And then for the witness on the soil logs, we're gonna go with a new for $100 flat fee. And an alteration or repair, a $50 flat fee. I need a motion on that,
I'll make a motion.
and I need a second on that, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, and then the septic tank pumping fee. Somebody suggested going up to $15.
Yes.
Is that agreeable to everybody? Alright, I need a
Yes.
motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll
second it. Well.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then a well permit.
So I would recommend doing something similar where you break it out between new and alteration and repair.
Okay,
We do have comparisons.
yeah, for both, Randolph and Roxbury, they're at 200 each.
And then you also have in the
Denville,
township,
yeah, Township, Denville,
yeah,
Morton and Dover, they're 75, Township's 100.
Where do you see that, what page? I'm only
Page
seeing,
7, it's under the regional comparison.
oh, regional,
the chart that's underneath the
Okay.
comparison with Randolph and Roxbury.
Oh, they're all at 75.
Yeah,
Does anybody do wells anymore? So rare, right?
It depends on where you live.
Yeah.
I mean, in
well,
the township,
borough.
in
The
the town,
township, yes, but the
we have,
borough,
we have city water.
yeah.
Right, Warren, some areas have well.
Yeah, township definitely has wells.
Out in Jefferson, some areas have well.
So do we wanna make it like 100 for new and 50 for, a repair?
Sounds good.
I need a motion for the 100 for new and 50 for repair.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And Courtney, did you say that they're not doing this percolation test anymore?
I don't believe so, no.
Should we just leave it what it is?
If you find out that they are doing it, we can come back and we'll revisit that. If not, we should have it taken off.
Yes, agreed with that. So I will double check on the percolation test. And then one more thing with the wells, I do believe that the board should also institute a well decommissioning fee.
Because they have to come out to inspect that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, they have to make sure that the well has been abandoned properly. And so in Randolph, we charge 100 for that.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay, everybody, I need a motion.
I don't know though, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we're charging 50 for a repair. So then we're charging more to decommission it than we are to repairing it.
What goes into decommissioning? Is it more paperwork?
I would offer that more paperwork and back and forth with the state, because they've gotta be, there's gotta be coordination with a licensed well driller to decommission, and then that
okay.
has to go to NJDEP, and there's a lot of back and forth.
Okay, that makes sense.
I need a motion to accept the $100 fee to decommission the well.
I make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I kind of got a little discombobulated here going over all that. Anything else on the fees that I am not seeing?
I think
The
there's
housing
We
inspection.
have another page.
one
There's
more
another
on
page.
page 6.
With
6.
6, housing inspections, okay. Certificate of habitability.
I would recommend that the board increase this. I have made the recommendation here as well to 75 and a reinspection fee of 25.
Now it's my turn. What page is that on?
6.
Okay.
6?
What's
Thank you.
involved on the reinspection, Courtney?
Say that again?
What would be involved on a reinspection?
If there were items that didn't pass during an inspection, like we see sometimes that like window screens aren't in place, or a smoke alarm, or isn't working, or there's no hot water, that would require us to go back and ensure that it's compliant prior to tenant moving in, would constitute a reinspection.
Okay, do we get these often?
I wouldn't say often, no, but they do happen.
Okay, because I know like with our food establishment, it's what the actual inspection fee is, that they have to repay that inspection fee.
Right.
So,
So you said it's 75 and 25?
I would think for reinspection at least 35, because labor's so expensive now for us. You know, sending somebody out. right? I don't think we could send somebody in the field for $20. What is it, Courtney, in some of the other places? I didn't see it on the comparison.
Not every health department does this, so it depends whether the municipality wants the health department to do it, so if they don't do it in Roxbury or Chester, we do it here in Randolph.
And what are the fees in Randolph?
They're the same now, but I've recommended that they increase them.
Okay.
You said
So it's 75 and
75.
25.
And you think that 25 re-inspection fee is fair?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that when they're going, they're looking for very specific things, that were non-compliant, so.
It's just a
one, or it could be 10, right?
Yeah, and I would offer that I believe it's under normal circumstances, much faster than the initial inspection.
Do we have any kind of data collection on that re-inspection, like to know how many items they have to re-inspect? Like, is it just 1 or 2, or is it 10 to 20?
It could be either, right? I mean, I think if I asked the inspectors that, they would tell me sometimes it's 1 or 2 and they can get away with, you know, having the landlord send them a picture of there being a screen in the door. Other times the properties are non-compliant and they have to go out because there's a whole slew of things that they have to look at.
Is there a way to base it on how many corrections that need to be re-inspected?
If that's what the board wants to do, yeah, sure.
You know, 5 and under do 25, and if it's 6 or more, make it 50. You know, because like you said, if it's a screen door, maybe a screen in a window, a smoke detector, hot water, you know, something that's super quick, you can be in and out of there in like 5 minutes. But if it's things that are more involved, it's gonna take more time. What do you guys think? We can even make it less, you know, 1 to 3.
If we don't do it that often, having multiple categories might make it somewhat, we might be making more work for ourselves in a way. But I hear you that, like, you know, how many violations there are to evaluate. Maybe just make it 35.
Yeah, but some of them you don't even, the inspectors even have to, not even have to go back to the facility to.
Well, maybe that could be the category, you know, a virtual reinspection, you know.
Well, but what if they have some virtual and some not? They get some pictures and they still have to go on site.
Right.
We don't wanna make it too complicated.
Right. I was just thinking electronic submission, 25, site visit requirements, 35, or something like that, but then it's still 2 categories.
What do you think, Courtney?
Because we don't do it that often, I would say just to make it flat for ease.
Flat fee?
Yeah.
Why don't we stick with just what Randolph is going to increase theirs to?
I agree.
I think the 25 is okay, should we do more?
I don't know, my gut tells me more, but if the inspector's out doing something else that day, like if that was a one-off, like go do this one today, that would be not a good use of productivity. Like sending one inspector back and forth for one thing, but if the inspector had like 4 stops to make and on the way hit 4 of them, then the 25 would make sense. So it would, you know. So I guess it's how the productivity is managed with all the inspections, you know, which we don't control because we're just, you know, controlling the fees.
Alright, I need a motion to accept, the initial fee inspection for habitability as 75 and for a reinspection as 25.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, now have we hit all the fees?
Yes.
We have, but I have two questions, I'm sorry.
Nope, don't be sorry, ask your questions.
So daycare centers, they have an annual registration fee of $75. Does that fall under the health department? Do we actually go and do inspections? No. I know our nurses are involved with daycare centers, but in a different capacity.
Yes, they're doing immunization audits of the daycare centers. We are not involved with daycare centers unless they are serving food. They're acting as a retail food establishment, which most of them are not. They're either having the kids bring lunch in or they're getting lunch catered, so that's taken care of. So the daycare fee is purely a licensing fee.
Okay. And then the other question I had was on lead-based paint inspections. We had done an ordinance back in 2023 for those inspections, and their visual inspections and their administrative fees. Is that anything that we should kind of relook at?
I
Or
think those
fall
fees,
under us, or?
that falls under us, and I think that those fees are appropriate for what the workload involves.
Okay. Can that be added somewhere, maybe under, I don't know, where would it fall, under the housing inspections? Can we just add that
Sure.
to the sheet that we're working off of?
And not to make it any more work for Kim, but maybe when she updates this, if she could send it out to us, just so we can have it on hand for future
Sure.
reference.
Sure. I don't think that'll be an issue.
Thank you.
And I do have one more. Our inspectors do inspections for compliance on flavored vape compliance inspections. How does that fall under the Department of Health? Do we license them?
No, the state provides a vapor business license, but that's a little tricky because it's sort of an elective process. The business owner has to decide that a certain percentage of their business is from the sale of vapor products and then applies for that license with the state. I did give the borough attorney a copy of the ordinance that I had when I was in another municipality as it relates to licensing. These shops, that is still under review by him. They do not currently pay a licensing fee unless they also are a retail food establishment. But they do, that regulatory authority does fall under us, and there have been several summonses issued to the businesses that are selling them.
Should they be incorporated in what we're doing today? Or any fees or no?
I would say that's probably a question I have to circle back on with the attorney, because I think that he was looking at that ordinance from a holistic approach, including the licensing fee.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time regarding the fee schedules that we've done? Or anything else that's out there that you think we need to address? Okay. Moving on to correspondence, I did not see any in our packet. Were you aware of any, Courtney? Nope, okay. I'm gonna read our statement before I open to the public. Public comment provides members of the public with an opportunity to offer input to the Board of Health on matters of public concern. Each speaker may speak once during the public comment period and is limited to 3 minutes. Comment should be directed to the Board of Health as a whole and presented in an appropriate manner. Speakers are asked to refrain from personal or disparaging remarks about board members, employees, or appointed officials, as the board is legally restricted from responding to personnel-related matters. All comments will be received and considered by the Board of Health. The board may, but is not required to respond. And at this point in time, I will open the session to our public. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak?
No, thank you. No comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. I will now close the public session of our meeting since I see that Bonnie is our only member of the public. And I will open the meeting back up to our staff reports.
So going through the environmental report for February, there were 2 COH, certificate of habitability inspections conducted, 10 food and drink inspections conducted for a total of 12 inspections in the month of February. There were 5 OPRA requests responded to, one food and drink complaint and 1 housing complaint for a total of 7 complaints responded to. For the nursing report, there was 1 child referral to the nurses with a few follow-up phone calls. There, under childhood lead poisoning, there were 4 cases reported to us, 1 ongoing investigation, 1 blood pressure conducted as a home visit. There was also 1 adult office visit, 4 communicable diseases reported and 4 investigated. You'll also see in your packets for the immunization audits, the nurses compiled quite a nice table for you all, and I'm happy to report that all schools and daycares in the borough are compliant with their immunization audits. 100% compliant. We saw 4 adults in our 317 funded clinic and gave 4 immunizations. 3 individuals seen in our VFC, our vaccine for children, and 7 immunizations were given. And then the nurses were quite busy with some education this month, with some webinars related to hepatitis B, vaccine confidence and coverage, some updates that came as a result of a chapter in the Administrative Code 857, and also a wellness webinar that they attended. And that's all I have for staff reports.
Okay. I do not see any vouchers. Any vouchers you're aware of?
No vouchers.
Okay, no closed session is needed.
I have just a quick question, or should I hold it?
Nope, go ahead. I was gonna say, any other questions or concerns?
Okay, no, I was just, when I was looking at the immunization reports, and, is it, some of the establishments were evaluated at like 100% of the population, and others of these in the audits were smaller percentages. Is that because those other students' records were reviewed in the past?
No, we're not required to audit every student in every school.
So, because I was trying to see, like, the American Christian School, 3% of their records were reviewed, but Blue Sky had 100% of their records reviewed. Bright Horizon
So
had
one is
100.
daycare. Daycares, everybody gets audited.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
and then in public school, they are not audited. Not everyone is audited. They're auditing mostly 6th grade and transfer students.
In public schools.
Correct. Well, in K through 12, not just public, K to 12 schools. not everybody in the school is audited. They're auditing sixth graders, transfer students.
So like Morris Hills, they audited 2% of the student population. So that 2% would have been
Transfer
transfers?
students, yes.
Okay, and then in the American Christian school, they audited 3%. So that 3% was transfers as well? Okay. And Jefferson too, I guess, because Jefferson was lower too. And that's a
Jefferson
public
Middle School, it could have been the sixth graders that they were auditing, sixth graders and transfer students.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions or concerns at this time? I need a motion for an adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See you all next month.
Recording stopped.
Thursday.